Hey guys, Toki here. Wanted to take some time today and just briefly go over our ice soaks in intermission 2 and phase 3, as well as some minor positioning changes I'd like to see roll through. So first and foremost, positioning changes. So in intermission 2, we're going to have two ads. We have an earth ad and an ice ad. And we are going to make them a little bit smaller just so they're easier to manage here. Okay, so the start of phase 2, what we're going to change is we're going to have them tanked in between the two symbols with our tanks on orange. Okay, and they're going to look kind of like this, pointed a little bit askew so that the frontals don't overlap each other. Okay, so we're going to start off positioned like this. And the reason is this will make it a little bit more simple for the first soak to be soaked, and then we're going to adjust our positioning. So as we start here, if we just reference the ERT note, so the first soak, which is in intermission 1, is going to be whoever gets the debuff. And if you get the debuff when you have a circle, you're considered the melee soak. And so you run to circle. And soaking with you is going to be the two tanks, Polar and Razor. If you get a star, you're going to be considered the ranged group. Now, this is a little bit counterintuitive, but if you get star for the first intermission soak, you run out of the group. And you're running out of the group because you don't want to put debuffs on the rest of the raid who are stacking on star. And so we'll go ahead and put a nice little cyan circle here. And I'll put one over here as well. All right, so we'll assume that two people in our group get debuffs. Espion asked a question about last night, so we're going to pick on him a little bit. And we're going to say Espion got circle, and so he's going to run over here to the two tanks and soak with them. Be careful that where you're standing doesn't overlap the soak circle with the star group, so maybe go a little bit behind the tanks. And we'll say that a different range, we'll call it Nezrif, gets the soak. Okay. Now, actually, that's a really bad example. If it's Nezrif, he just runs out and blocks it. If you have a hard immunity, you just stop the ability and you don't ask anyone to soak with you. We'll say Rain gets it, right? So Rain gets it, he runs out. And running out with him are going to be our immunity soakers. So going back to the ERT note, that's Gosh, Widehead, and Orange. And so he'll have two rogues with him and a paladin. And that's how these two will be soaked. After the soaks go out, you'll then come back to the group. The tanks are going to rotate how they're facing these guys. So they are now pointed to the back of the room here. And melee can move over to orange. Okay. Now, really important to note that as we're going through here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people with a debuff. And so those 7 people do not soak the second soak. So, assuming everyone kind of gets through here, they go back to their melee and range respective soak spots. We're going to have all the melee on circle, all the range on star. And the second soaks are going to go out. Okay. So everyone who soaked the first one still has a debuff up. They come too close together, and you're not going to be able to soak the second one. And it's really easy for the people who are assigned to soak that. So the two tanks, orange, and our two rogues, they don't soak, right? Because they have the debuff still, and every single time they're going to have the debuff unless someone immunes. So you guys, as melee, need to either creep around the outside of the bosses to careful the frontals, of course, to keep your DPS uptime, or just be safe and move out back away from the raid. And the same thing goes for Espion, who had the first debuff. He would move out of the circle soak. Now, this one's very simple. The remaining range on star, as well as whoever gets the debuff with the star marker, is going to soak on star. And then the same thing for whoever gets the orange marker with the remaining melee DPS soaks on orange. Once the soaks go out, then everyone collapses again into their respective stack points. So the melee on orange and the range on star. And we finish this out. Now we have to kill this ice ad before the third one comes out, otherwise we wipe. So very important that he dies here, and that's why we focus him first. In the frost phase, very, very similar. I put, the circle and the star here behind these other markers just to demonstrate where the groups go. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just know that circle group is on X. That's the melee group. It's the right side of the boss if you look from the center outward. The exact same as it is if you look from the center outward on the Earth side. They're both the right side of the boss. Okay, so that's where the melee group goes. They go to X, and the range group goes to Skull. And the tanks will tank the boss and the ad a little bit in between here. It's going to have an ice ad as well, with the frontals pointed away from the group. Okay, when the first soaks go out, it's going to be just what the ERT note says. So it's going to be whoever gets the circle debuff stands on circle, and then the circle group, which is assigned in our Raider sheet. So basically all melee plus Zelda. It's going to stack on X with them, along with Gosh, Orange, and Razor. And yes, Gosh and Orange are both melee. It should be very simple for them, but they're not in the circle group because they have immunities in the intermission too. So they go with them to circle. On the star group, it's going to be Wydad and Polar soaking on the star group. And again, Wydad is not assigned for anything because he has immunity in the first intermission. So that's how those soaks go. If we get a second soak, which you probably will, it just gets suicided. So, if a rogue gets it, and for whatever reason he doesn't have cloak up, he will run the second soak out of the group and die. Hopefully we have a battle res for him. Now, the last thing I wanted to go over is the bad interlap in intermission 2. And what that is that's when the ice guy has his get close to me or take extreme amounts of damage in combination with the earth adds circles that you have to get out of the raid. Okay, so we'll do orange for those, and I believe there's 3 of them that come out. And then we'll do the cyan one again for the ice AoE. So everybody's stacked up in this ice AoE. The ideal position for these is going to be towards the wall, as close to the ice circle as you can make it without interfering with our positioning. So this is an ideal position for these. I would maybe move the tank one a little bit back just to give them some room. But you want it close. And you want it close because anytime you spend outside of this ice circle, you're going to be taking an obscene amount of damage. The danger for you dying here is very, very high if you have those. And so that means you pop personal. Healers are popping your individual defensives, such as Sack or Bark or Life Cocoon on these guys. They're going to be different people every time. And so healers just try to hit somebody with it. If we miss one person, we miss one person. But odds are we'll get all 3. And if you have it as DPS, please pop your defensive. And so we're going to bring them out, and you're going to walk them out. And so we'll assume, a Demon Hunter has 2 of them, and a Warrior has the 3rd one, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to be all stacked up on your side, right? The debuffs are going to go out. You're going to begin to position towards the outside of the ice circle, and you're going to monitor the debuff timer on you. When you have, and you'll have to play with this, I don't know what the actual time is, but we'll call it 1.5 seconds left. You leave the ice circle and get to your position by walking. The circle will then drop, and you'll use a dash or a warrior leap or whatever movement ability you have to get back into the ice circle very, very quickly. And that's how it's done. Now, if there's already ground effects over here, that's okay. The actual ground effect doesn't do much damage at all. You can safely drop every single one on top of each other. Just as long as, the 3 that are dropping are separated so you don't get the overlap in damage. So feel free to drop them on top of other existing ground puddles. And then last thing, I guess, if you can, if you're a class with high mobility or high survivability, Demon Hunters are the first thing that come to mind here. I believe, I don't know that it's confirmed, but you can bait who these go out on. They should be the closest people to the rock ad right before they go out. So if Demon Hunters especially can try to get very, very close to the rock ad, And if for whatever reason it happens to prefer close people, that would be extremely helpful because I think they're uniquely suited to survive this overlap. So yeah, that's it. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and looking forward to progging more tonight.